this computer. Okay, we're being recorded. That's good. Hello, everybody. Welcome. We're going to just give a couple seconds of people coming in from the Zoom waiting room. People are flowing in, I can see. We hope the waiting room experience was as pleasant as Zoom waiting rooms can be. But we're glad you're all here. And what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to give it 10 more seconds. And we're going to start. And it looks like people have, the door is closed to the waiting room, apparently, Nick. The door is closed. And away we go. Here we go. Welcome, everybody. My name is John Raphael. I'm the Director of Educational Services with the National Alliance for Direct Support Professionals, and I am here for the May 2026, my goodness gracious, installment of Let's Talk. This is our companion webinar where we interview the authors of our international journal for direct support professionals. And this is going to be a kind of a shortened Let's Talk today. We're going to go about a half hour. So with that, I'm going to get right into it. And just quickly, some housekeeping. We have our intrepid interpreters with us. If you desire sign language, it's there, as well as closed captioning are available if you would prefer that. And this is a live webinar. So if you do have any questions or comments, you're welcome to put them in the chat. Can't guarantee I'm going to get to them, but at the very least, I will collect them and then indeed send them later on to our author. Who let's get right to the topic right now. The International Journal this month asked Nick Filarelli. I said it right, Nick. Nick Filarelli. Nick Filarelli to write an article about his organization. And his organization is in Tennessee. And in fact, Tennessee, we have been watching for many, many years. Tennessee is doing so many good things when it comes to supporting people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Through technology, through person-centered supports, through all kinds of stuff that Nick's going to talk about specifically in terms of his organization. But before we get into that, I just want to give first a shout out to Tennessee because it's a state that seems to get it when it comes to providing services and supports for people with disabilities. And Nick's going to talk about one organization that does that. So before I even give you the name of that organization, well, Nick can give it to you because he's going to say who he is, where he's from, and then we're going to get into why he wrote about something called workforce transformation. So, Nick, who are you and why are you here? And hello, welcome.
Well, thank you. As it says on your screen here, my name is Nick Filarelli. As of about a year and some change ago, I took over as the Executive Director of Core Services of Northeast Tennessee, small provider in the northern corner of that state. Prior to that, I worked here as our program director for about a decade. And before that, I began my career in 2006 as a direct support professional, taking what seemed like it was going to be a fun, kind of easy, cool summer job that stumbled into a career and has been what I've decided to do with my life.
There you go, Nick. And you know what? Your history, but thank you for telling us who you are. But your history is probably like thousands of so many other people that are either listening to this or that are in our field, myself included. Got a summer job 40 years ago doing direct support. I really haven't left. And it's a great thing. I couldn't do anything else, Nick. I think I couldn't do anything else. Um, so look, I'm going to read. I never read anything on these things, but I'm going to read something. And this is the description of the article that Nick wrote for this month's International Journal. The name of the article is Workforce Transformation, Changing Agency Culture and Retaining Good Staff. And that sounds like, oh, wow, who doesn't want to hear about that? Well, listen to why we want to hear about this. Like many providers, Core Services of Northeast Tennessee, it's the name of the organization, Core Services of Northeast Tennessee, reached a turning point more than a decade ago. the Home and Community-Based Settings Rule, HCBS Settings Rule, a federal mandate in the United States requiring Medicaid services to be delivered in an integrated rather than segregated manner, and integrated settings rather than segregated settings. It was causing upheaval for many, many provider agencies throughout the country. CORE began focusing on lives rather than services. Let me say that again, and Nick, talk about that later. Lives rather than services. Once again, that sounds so obvious, but we're going to hear this. We're going to hear about this. So CORE began focusing on lives rather than services, listening to people and acting accordingly. Imagine that, Nick. Thanks for doing that. Jeez. Within 2 years, now here's where the rubber meets the road. Within 2 years, all agency supports were 100% community based. 41% of the people that CORE supported were employed. The direct support professional turnover rate had been reduced by over 50%. Rights restrictions became non existent. And they began to wonder what could be accomplished if the same concepts were applied to the workforce. The answer? Reduced vacancies, reduced turnover, and lower overtime costs. At the end of the day, also, and you write this in your article, Nick, happy staff, or happy people, right, come from happy staff. That's a paraphrase of what you wrote. Nick, tell us about this journey that CORE went on to kind of transform to being person-centered and really direct support centric. Go.
So one of the things that I said that you read a moment ago was that you start by listening to people because you focus on lives instead of services. And it was right around the time that the HCBS settings rules were really upsetting the way people did business and had done so for a long time. And they were transitioning away from segregated day centers, enclave employment, segregated environments, large group homes with 10 and 12 bedrooms, that kind of thing. Um, so as part of our person-centered journey, we began by having a lot of facilitated person-centered planning conversations, one-on-one. And as I recollect, we started with the people that had the most kind of obvious dissatisfaction with their life. And there was a lot of folks because they were going to day programs, they were really bored, it's unfulfilling. If they were working, oftentimes it was in these enclave environments where four or five people are picking up cigarette butts at a parking lot together.
Yeah.
And that is technically employment, but it's not meaningful employment. And you know, you're meeting paid staff and other people with disabilities, and you're kind of barricaded from your community. So we started having these person-centered facilitation meetings with people. And if you're not familiar with that process, check it out, and I highly recommend it. And we just did this one by one, and as we went through that process, people told us things in their lives that weren't working. Very often it was they were going to the segregated day program environment, didn't
Mhm.
care for that. They had staff that weren't compatible. They had jobs that were unmeaningful, unfulfilling. And we encountered a lot of resistance because some of these staff felt upended. They worked at the day program and they'd always worked. They worked there for 20 years. And as we're talking about taking people out of that environment, they feel job threatened and that
Mhm.
kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But we started trying to achieve the goals that people were setting for themselves during that process. And, very slowly, this was something that took place over years and encountered backlash and resistance along the way.
Sure.
Um, but
From who?
eventually we were able.
From who? Where did the backlash come from? Just if you could expand on that a little bit.
Staff and family members mostly. People supported are gung ho. They know they can work. They know they can live semi-independently or live on their own and
Mhm.
work in the community. So it was resistance from kind of that old, sort of what I would think of as an outdated way of thinking. So
Okay.
staff persons, family members, members of management, our management team even.
Sure. Sure. So I'm sorry to interrupt you there because I think that's
No, well, the rest of
yeah.
that thought is that
Yeah.
once people start demonstrating successes, then you can kind of, the proof is in the pudding. You change people's minds because they see that what you're doing is making people happier.
Mhm.
It's a slow build, but once you get the momentum going, you keep it going, and you see real agency-wide cultural change.
Mhm. Mhm. In so I would say that something that prompted your organization's change from what you've indicated is that, okay, is this, these rules. So these new rules come from the federal government and our funders, and that we all of us kind of operate in that system. And the settings rule has been at best controversial, right? Been a very, for whatever reasons, it's been challenging, right? Um, but even beyond that, it seems beyond the kind of the mandate, it's from what I got in the article, you wanted to do it anyway. You wanted to become a more person-centered, quote unquote, organization. And I mean, once again, workforce transformation. This is the National Alliance for Direct Support Professionals doing this webinar. So the focus is on the workforce. What did you do with that workforce specifically? Anything specific about the workforce in this transformation process?
Well, when people's lives improve, I think they're more fun to work with. That this was all kind of foundational to things we did later, like our enabling technology program that just gave us all kinds of flexibility in service provision and DSP scheduling. So that was really beneficial to our DSPs once they kind of understood what we were doing with it. And not to mention cost savings and employee raises and all those benefits that come from more efficient means of providing services. But just working with people that are happier. And once staff recognize that, I think they feel like they're part of something and they're part of this mission to improve somebody's life. And they realize that their job is meaningful. They're not dragging somebody to a day program every day they don't want to go to. They're helping people find cool jobs and meet friends and connect with family members and all that fun stuff. Morale improves, employee morale.
Sure, sure. Um, in the article, you write something about promotions. And maybe I'm getting a little bit of ahead the horse before the cart or whatever you want to say. But when it comes to promoting and career ladders and things that you did in the organization for the direct support, your direct support staff, um, what were the things that I think, in your opinion, what made the most impact? What gave, I guess, direct support professionals incentive to kind of hop on this culture change?
So, yeah, I'll give you three examples, and I'll preface it by saying that one of the things that Joe Macbeth is fond of saying and has really stuck with me is that his vision for direct support is to kind of professionalize that industry in the way that nursing went from a caretaking role to a highly professional, skilled
Yeah,
employment.
yeah.
And you have to get a little creative to do that. We are a very frontline heavy industry. There's a lot of DSPs and not a lot of management, so promotional opportunities are limited. So I think you have to think outside the box if you want to be able to elevate your workforce to higher positions. And like the eBadge Academy is a great way to credential people and do that. So shout out to you guys. But another thing we've done is our enabling technology program that I alluded to. The very quick version of that is you're using all sorts of tech to support people with fewer staff. So you're able to support somebody at night with remotely. You have a staff person in a home that's checking on them and through various devices and alerts and things, not cameras, but all that kind of stuff, making sure that they're not getting out of bed or there's no accidents, smoke detection, all that. And when we started changing the way that we're supporting people, we also needed these specialized positions to build the infrastructure around that program. So we created a remote support specialist role, which is a third shift, oftentimes night shift DSP that's working in a home supporting people in person in the traditional way, but they're also carrying a mobile device, and that mobile device is getting alerts from 7 or 8 programs throughout the community. And you almost never have an issue, so there's very little really to do in practice, but you do need eyes on those alerts for that system to work and for it to be safe, and on the 1 in a million chance that something does happen. So they get a pretty substantial pay increase. We're able to have a robust remote support program without paying third-party contractors, and some of them are amazing, but it is a lot more cost effective to do it this way. It's, dollars on the hour instead of hundreds of dollars per month per person supported. It's been really successful for us. We have multiple people in that role, so there's redundancy. If one staff is unavailable, you have other people that can fill that position. We also created a night monitor role, which is like the boots on the ground component of that. So the remote support specialist, or RSS, gets the alert. If they need to dispatch somebody to the home for any reason, they call the night monitor, and that person's whole job is to kind of check on the third shift employees and just be a presence on the night shift, provide some oversight perhaps, and then most importantly, be available to respond to people that don't have overnight staff because they're supported by technology.
And have, I mean, uh, here's the thing. So I'm hearing the use of technology, right? Which is at we do hear from direct support professionals a little, there's a fear, like that night monitor thing and the remote RSS, what is it?
Remote support
Remote
specialist,
support specialist.
our term, yeah.
So it's technology, but it seems like you can't have that technology without a human being. It seems right. So could you just maybe help us understand a little bit more about the things that core services as used when it comes to tech stuff? Um,
Yeah, I'll give you
yeah.
just a kind of a generic common example. So you have somebody that used to live in a home where they had two staffs rotate or two shifts rotating every day or three, somebody in their house 24/7, and the night shift, they sleep, they don't need a lot of help. Maybe they get up to use the bathroom, and oftentimes the DSP would clean the house and then have nothing to do for 6 hours. Meanwhile, across town, you have a home that somebody has, really demanding needs really good 24/7 staff, but doesn't have anybody because there's just limited people in the field and vacancies and stuff. So you reallocate your resources. You take the staff from the home where they're not necessarily needed, and you move them to the home where they are needed. So nobody's lost a position, nobody's been eliminated. All you've eliminated is a vacancy that's costing you overtime and costing your staff exhaustion because they're having to work 70-hour weeks. Meanwhile, now in that home, you can support that person with just a handful of unintrusive sensors, like a door sensor that's going to generate an alert if they were to open the door in the middle of the night, smoke detector alert if there was fire, water if the toilet overflowed, whatever that person needs. It's specific to what nighttime, oftentimes nighttime needs that they would require to be able to be supported remotely.
Mhm.
And then somewhere else, you have somebody monitoring those alerts, and their job is to just dispatch assistance or provide it remotely. They can touch base through audio video
Yeah.
tools and see if the person needs help. And if there's something that they can't do remotely, then they get somebody in there to support them.
The bottom line is that there's not going to be robots and cameras and AI drones that are going to take over the direct support workforce. Can you help? Can you guarantee that, Nick?
Guarantee is a strong word.
I know,
We
I
have,
know,
I will say the core guarantee is that we have no robots so far
I know.
or artificial intelligences. But yeah, it's very unintrusive. If you walk into somebody's home, you should never know that they're using enabling technology. And it almost would look more strange to walk into a home and see no technology. It's all around. It's tablets, iPads,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Echoes, all that stuff.
All that and all these things that ultimately make lives easier, right? Well, we hope. There's whatever we can have a debate about, the technology. It's alienating human beings from one another, blah blah blah, all that. But for people with disabilities, it's opened up a world, right? A world that they may not have if they didn't have the technology, right? Um,
Right.
I'm sorry. Did I say something?
No, no, no,
Yeah.
no, go ahead.
Um, let's dive into this. So retaining good staff, right? Retaining good staff. So all the things you've said so far, I'm hearing that this is core services sounds like a place I'd like to work. It
We'd
sounds
love
like,
to have you.
yeah, well, hey, well, I'll talk to Joe Macbeth and the good folks at NADSP, and I don't mind moving to Tennessee. You got nice weather down there.
It's
Um,
beautiful.
Here's the thing. Retaining good staff. Look, this is the talk about this is it. This is the holy grail, right? In our field, vacancy rates are off the charts. Retaining staff is like, what can we do? What can we do? You seem to have done it as an organization. It seems easy because you listen to people, what they wanted, and you just keep doing it. What's your special sauce? What's your magic formula? Is there one for the people that are listening to this today? What can their organizations, whether they're a direct support professional, whether they're an executive director, I don't care who you are, what can organizations do to kind of experience what you're experiencing? Can you help?
Um, well, there's certainly no special magic sauce. If there was, I guess we'd bottle it and we'd make a lot of money selling it. But it's been a lot of small initiatives. So in the article, I talk about, applying the same person-centered concepts to your employees and your workforce. And that means offering people things that other jobs can't, because we're limited by our funding mechanisms. The dollars we can pay you are finite. We work very hard to make them competitive, but we're limited. But we can offer you flexibility. So we have maybe somebody gets supported by some technology which allows the staff to leave them for periods of time. That means that you don't have to come in until after you drop your kids off at school, or you can leave and pick your kids up. You can go home in the middle of the day and feed your dog. And then also the person benefits from just having some alone time. They get a little peace and quiet in their own home, which is something they've never experienced. So that's a huge thing we're able to offer people. But we also do want to be as competitive in what we pay employees as we can be. And the more efficiently you're able to provide support and the more people you can support with less people, the more you can use those dollars towards wages. And we talk a lot about the intangible benefits to working as a DSP, and there's many of them. It's a great job, and it's not all about the money by any means. But when you have bills to pay and kids and things like that, and this business down the road is going to pay you $25 an hour to work in a factory, it's a tough decision for somebody to quit doing what they love to go do what they need to pay the bills. So money is important, wages are important, and all the cost savings that we get from doing this, from supporting people in this way, are reinvested into pay increases.
And there's again, I'm quoting from the article. I'm quoting.
Okay.
And I said it before. I'm going to say the actual verbatim words, Nick. Happy people equal happy staff. Um, Expand on that. That's and again, if you need, I'll give you that at the very end of our time together. I'll give everybody my email, and they can email me, and I can send you this great article. But this is how you kind of almost conclude the article. Talk about that. It's once again, it's just super duper easy, like okay, and almost obvious. But is that easier said than done? Happy people equal happy staff.
Yeah, it's not, I don't think it's that simple, but I do think it's kind of foundational to the trajectory that we've undergone. So we started with people. That was it. It was like, what makes this person's life happy? You ask them, and in whatever means they choose to communicate, and then you act on it. And you don't think about services, you think about lives. And what that leads to is staff that are working with people that have fulfilling lives and are doing fun stuff. And so it's more fun to come to work. And then you have happy staff, and happy staff equal happy people. And that's why we kind of called it our virtuous cycle, because
Yep,
it's self fulfilling. You get the ball rolling and it grows from there.
yep, yep,
But
yep.
you have to get the ball rolling. That's the difficult part.
Yeah, because it's when I read that, I kind of had to read it a couple of times, and it's like, so there's Sir Richard Bronson of Virgin, Virgin Airways, and the guy that owns half the world or whatever,
Yeah.
gazillionaire. He had something again, a paraphrase that he doesn't worry about his customers, he worries about his employees, right? And it's almost a reversal of that. That well, if the customers are well, in your case, right, is if the folks are having fun that you're supporting and doing fun stuff, yeah, I want to come to work. I want to be part of that. It's almost I like that. I like that in a way because there's something that I don't know. It's less involved that kind of equation. It's less that the staff or the direct support professionals or the people that are being paid to support people, it's their responsibility to be happy. And it's not that we should be, but no, it's wow, man.
Well, I kind of neglected to mention, but part of listening to people differently and changing your culture is educating your employees on how to do the same thing. So it does work both ways. You have a workforce that
Yeah,
learns behavior as communication, So a behavior is not something to medicate or restrain. It's something to listen to and act upon. And that's where the cultural change comes in. So you demonstrate by example, and that's where we did all these person-centered planning meetings, and we were demonstrating as an agency that we're going to listen to people in this way, and we're going to honor their wishes. And then we were educating our DSPs to do the same. So, behaviors go down, they really do. And nobody likes to come to work and get cussed at and kicked
No,
and thrown at. So
no,
it's
no, no.
yeah, it benefits
Nick,
everybody.
Nick, I got a question about that in terms of quality of life and all that. And so you also indicate in the article, and I know this through some of my interactions with your organization, rights restrictions became non-existent. A lot of organizations, they'll have to have human rights committees, quote unquote, right? And restrictive things are often in the lives of people with disabilities. DSPs don't like that often. They don't, and it becomes very difficult to support people with lots of restrictions. How did that, how did that happen? How were you able to reduce the amount of restrictive measures?
I think you do it and you have a leap of faith that if you give somebody trust, they're going to so often repay your trust in kind. And if you take trust away, they're going to, I mean, what the hell have they got to lose at that point? If the knives are locked up, they're going to try to get them. If the food is locked up, they're going to obsess over it. Or if the door's locked and the moment you forget to lock it, they're going to bolt down the street. So I don't know. I think you put faith in people, and I think if people are happy, they're less likely to elope or exhibit those kind of things that the restriction was supposed to prevent and ultimately didn't.
Yeah, once again, it, I hate to say it, it just seems like it's common sense, right? It seems like it's common sense, but we can't say that for whatever reasons. We just can't say that. We have to have, I guess, strategy and structure around it, and so be it. If that's the case, so be it. If it,
Well, it's
you
certainly
know,
an oversimplification to say just simply don't do all these things. But instead, what you have to do is at least have the mindset and the policies and procedures to back it up that you're going to try X, Y, and Z before you go to lock this and take away that.
right,
So I think you just approach the problem from the other direction, and then maybe 90 times out of 100, you're going to find that it works more successfully that way. That's been our experience. Um, I don't mean to oversimplify, but I do think there's merit to at least approaching it differently and in developing an organization with a similar mindset that looks at things that way.
right. And I'm gonna do this. I hope it'll work here. But I'm gonna end our time together with showing everybody your website. Hold on here.
Okay.
And people can go to it. What's your website? What's your website, Nick?
CoreServicesTN.com.
Yeah, is that? Oh no, oh shoot, I just blew it. Hold on. How do I get to your website? I had it all queued up. Hold on, I had it all queued up. Here it is. Wait a minute. Wait, folks. See, this is where I need technological support, Nick. Maybe I can come to your organization and get some direct support professionals to help me understand how to use the darn
Got some
computer.
experts around here.
Here we go. Can you all see that? Can you see that, Nick?
I can. Yep.
There you go. There's let me go to the main. There you go. What I love about your website, and again, this is not an advertisement for core services of Northeast Tennessee. It's not really and truly. I mean, I'm getting no kickback from Nick Filarelli or the core services board of directors. I'm I'm showing you this because I mean a lot of organizations have really cool websites, and you certainly are among them. But what look at some of the things that we're seeing. This is culture of core services of Northeast Tennessee coming through just how people find you on the internet. Look at that picture. That picture alone is worth 1,000 words. Look at the life is short, work someplace awesome. Click to apply. I love that. And when you continue down, look at all the things you're proud of and all the things that you should be proud of as an organization. Oh, there you go. I forgot to mention you are a Moving Mountains Award recipient in 2022. You won the Moving Mountains Award, which is an award that we bestow upon organizations that we know that are doing great things for the direct support workforce. And we do that with the Institute for Community Integration and ANCOR. And NADSP, we get together every year and we award organizations like yours. And you don't just get that award. You got to show what you're doing for the workforce, and you've done it, and you've just talked about it for a half hour. So, just anyway, this is the one thing that got me when it comes to hiring and retention hire my strengths. Look at that, folks. So if you're watching this and listening to this, um, eh, take a look at the website and just there you go. We don't have time to watch this, but just go to the website and you'll get a sense of why, how workforce transformation happened at Core Services, and how the agency culture changed, and why it's so important, and how you can retain good staff. I think hearing what Nick just said to us in our little conversation here, checking out the website, learning more about Core Services. Any final comments or thoughts, Nick?
What, no, but if people are more than welcome, I guess you'll have my email address, so you're welcome to reach out and we can chat about stuff. I love to meet with other agencies and learn what folks are doing around the country. So appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Nick, and thanks to our interpreters. Thank you, our interpreters, for following us and going down the different rabbit holes that we go down. And thank you all who joined us today. This was an abbreviated Let's Talk for various reasons, but hey, it's not about the quantity; it's about the quality, right? Uh, Thanks always to Angie Nethercott and Chanel Salonia from Vita Community Services for partnering with us and always editing and publishing. They're our publisher, editor of the International Journal. And we will see you next month, June, which is Pride Month. And we're going to have a wonderful selection of topics and conversations about Pride in June. And Nick, thank you so much again for your time and your article. And we'll see you, everybody. We'll see you around, and enjoy the beginning of summer wherever you are.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks.